What's going on, guys? And tonight we're going to get into the episode of why you need multiple sources of income. Before we get started, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up, and of course, subscribe to the channel. Turn on your notifications so you can be updated with news, content, streams just like this. Okay, the first thing I want to basically address is how much people make on average, high earners, and basically what's going on with inflation and things like that. And then we'll get into the topic as far as what you can do for passive income and how you can basically start something that will maybe help you gain or earn more money down the road. So, we're going to start off with this article from CNBC. Uh, this actually was last year that this article dropped, but it's still relevant to this day. So, it's going to start off with amid high inflation, 36% of employees earning $100,000 or more say they are living paycheck to paycheck. Key points: 36% of U.S. employees with salaries of $100,000 or more are living paycheck to paycheck, double the share in 2019. The highest earners are the only income group that reported an increase over that time. Goes on to say more than a third of high earning American workers feel strapped for cash, a share that has risen dramatically in recent years. 36% of U.S. employees with salaries of $100,000 or more are living paycheck to paycheck, twice as many who said they were in 2019, according to a survey conducted by Willis Towers Watson, a consulting firm. That's more than 34% of workers who earn 50,000 to 100,000 a year who are living paycheck to paycheck, though lower than the 52% of paycheck to paycheck workers with incomes of less than 50,000, according to that survey. However, the higher earners are the only group that saw an increase in their paycheck to paycheck ranks in the last 3 years. So I'm just going to stop here for a moment. Shout out to you, Richard. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that. So let's digest this, right? There's always going to be speculation as far as how someone can make over $100,000 a year and why they would be living paycheck to paycheck, right? We can talk about mortgage rates. We can talk about cars. We can talk about children. We can talk about expenses and all that kind of stuff. The biggest point that we're missing out on here is not only living within our means, right? But figuring out why we need the expensive house, why we need the expensive car. Why do we have to keep up? People tend to think that $100,000 is not a lot of money. $100,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people. But for some reason, we've ended up in this society thinking that $100,000 isn't much money. And that's a scary thought because people don't know how to manage it or because they have to live in what they deem would be a certain level, a certain standard to not only impress themselves, but to impress others. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Goes on to say employees at higher paying levels aren't immune to living paycheck to paycheck, said Mark Schmersik, the financial well-being market leader for North America at Willis Towers Watson. Willis Towers Watson polled 9,658 full-time employees from large and mid-sized private employers in December and January 2022 before the most recent inflation readings. The findings are similar to a recent Lending Club survey that found 36% of people earning at least $250,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. Does this even make sense to some of you guys? $250,000 and they're living paycheck to paycheck. So the question to me would be why? First off, why are you living paycheck to paycheck? What are your bills looking like? What kind of debt are you in? What kind of house do you have? How much is your mortgage? How much debt do you have? How much credit card debt do you have? Right? These are all things that obviously build up and accumulate over time. You might have medical expenses, you might have medical bills, you might have children, you might have spouse. There's all these things you want to add up. But $250,000, I say we'll use a family of 4. That should be a decent income. That should be enough money to take care to take care of everybody in that family and put the kids through college. You could probably afford to go on a few more vacations a year as well with that kind of money. So why are these people in debt? Cost of living. Ludus says keeping up with the Jones. I just said that. Ludus says try living on 13,000. And see, that's one of the things that makes me think about even the amount of money that I make. I make over six figures. I have four businesses. Four. Many of you don't know that. We'll get into it. One of my streams of income is YouTube. Another one is going to be a marketing company. I also have an eBay store. I do e-commerce, and I also do drop shipping. So I have multiple streams of income that help me get over that six-figure limit, or level rather. It's that six-figure level. At the end of the day, do I need to work as hard as I do to make the amount of money that I do? Yes, because I have responsibilities, I have bills, I have children, I have things I need to take care of. So that amount of money that I need to make covers that spectrum. Now, what about the people who are making $500,000, who are living above their means, but living paycheck to paycheck, which is really wild? Shout out to Ryan Devlin says I make 120,000. Big thing is a mortgage. So Ryan, how big is your house? How many bedrooms? How much is your mortgage? We can talk about this. Yeah, I mean you've got your utilities, you've got your bills, you've got your gas, electric, you got your water, right? You've got your insurance, all that kind of stuff. You may live in a community where you have an HOA, things like that. So yeah, it's all going to add up. But let's look at what's the average mortgage for, let's say, New York. All right, so it says according to the U.S. Census Bureau data from the 2021 American Community Survey, the median monthly home payment, including utilities, insurance, and HOA fees, was more than 2,700 per month for Los Angeles and over 2,800 per month in the New York City area. Now, that was basically 2 years ago, but 2,800 is, I want to say, fairly accurate as far as when it comes to what I pay. 4 bedrooms, 2 bath. So yeah, I'm right there with you, Ryan. Timo says I never want to buy a house unless it's here in Spain. So I'd love to buy a house overseas. Be a nice little getaway vacation spot. Um, I wanted to drop this video for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to give some insight as far as how people can step out of the realm of just working the regular 9 to 5 and learn how to make passive income, learn how to make additional money so that they can live the life that they want to and not have to struggle. Number two, for self awareness. I think we don't really look at the numbers a lot, right? We don't really go through the finances and things that we need to so we can understand how to manage our money a little bit better, right? You may know that you make $2,000 a week. You may know that you make $5,000 a week, and you may know that your bills come out and things like that. But are you really budgeting your money so that you can maximize it, right? Are you in credit card debt, but it doesn't really matter to you because you just pay it, right? You're not looking at the percentages of the rates. You're not looking at it being a variable. You're not looking at what changed. You're not looking at how much your annual credit card fees are. All that kind of stuff adds up. So we have to start looking at our money. We have to start looking at what we need to budget and how we need to basically set up our funds so that we can get the most out of them. Ryan says my mortgage alone is 2,400. That's for New York, Ryan. Timo says in southern Spain they would be deemed uncomfortable by American standards. No frills, but only 25 to 50,000 for a 1 bed, 1 bath. Wow, that is absolutely amazing. Richard says when you rent, you're investing someone else, not you. 100%. All these real estate gurus, what do? They push renting, right? They push buying property, flipping it, or buying property and turning that property into a rental. They don't want you to buy a home. They want you to rent so you can help them make more money. That's the name of the game, and that's been the name of the game very strongly over the last, I want to say, 15 years, 20 years. It's gotten a little bit more aggressive, I'd say, in the last decade. The corporations buying up the property so you can rent from them and they make the money and you have no equity. But nobody wants to talk about that. Everybody wants to make the videos as far as getting passive income and buying property and renting it out. Nobody is telling anybody to own anything. We need to own stuff. You need to own stuff. I know people always say, well, I like to rent because I'm not responsible for the grass. I'm not responsible for the plumbing, and I'm not responsible for the issues that happen. Someone else can handle that. Property manager can do it. Okay. But you don't own it. And they can jack the price, they can jack up the rent, they can do whatever they want to do every year on you. And then what happens is what happened in 2021 is when these landlords go up on the rent and you're stuck because you're making the same amount of money. But if you had a mortgage or if you had your house paid off and you owned it, you would have never had that issue in the first place. Shout out to Simo, says we don't need any winter heating equipment in the house, and pipes are small single channel because zero chance of freezing. Until they ask you for 20% down on the investment property. Ryan, you know what time it is, man. You already know what time it is. Timo says you will you will own nothing and be happy. That's exactly. You will own nothing and be happy. You will be happy to rent this 500 square apartment, okay, for $4,000 a month, and you will be happy because you live in the city. No, you need to own. Someone's gonna watch this video and want to hurt me after it. It's not the message you should be preaching, Jay. Tell them to invest in rental properties. You guys, start owning. Start telling your friends to own. The real people know that you should own your property so you don't end up paying somebody else's mortgage, so you don't start paying somebody else's investment. Because that's the reality. So let's get into passive income. FYI, absolutely never do a timeshare. It's a whole nother video. Richard, never do a timeshare. Talk about a waste of money. Timo says, I'm lucky the room I'm renting is $185 a month. Shout out to you, Timo. Yeah, what's funny is there's a lot of places over in Italy. I was actually looking at some property over in Italy. They will sell you a very nice house. I forgot what the exact amount was, but it was literally under $100. You just have to live there for 5 years. And I said, wow, if I could dedicate 5 years of my life to living in Italy for a house and get the dual citizenship, I would definitely do it just to own property over there. I just have to basically figure out a way that I can spare 5 years of my life to be there. 20% down in 6 months worth of mortgage in your account, investment property. Listen, I'm not saying that people shouldn't do or have investment properties, right? But the issue is us having a housing crisis, right? And people not having anywhere to live because all these corporations and all these people who have bought properties just to either set them up as rental properties or to just flip them for the maximum amount of money they can. This is why we have the housing crisis that we do. And if you're not making a certain amount of money, you're pushed out. That's just the reality of it. Timo says, make as many sources of income as possible. I've been wanting to start a YouTube channel for Pokemon. Shout out to you, Timo. Very popular in Europe. Yeah, there's tons of channels in regards to real estate, investments, all that kind of stuff. Tons of stuff. Obviously, I don't want to get into that yet. Um, like I said, I wanted to make this video as far as why you need multiple sources of income. Passive income doesn't just have to be real estate, right? Everyone's going to say real estate, FBA, drop shipping, all that kind of stuff. I think people need to start figuring out what their true passion is, right? You could be working a 9 to 5 right now. You could be working a part-time job. Figure out what your passions are, right? Everyone's selling these courses on how to start a business. Go get an LLC. Go get a business loan. Once you get the business loan, then apply it to this, and you'll get this amount of money, and then flip that money into. No, slow down. Figure out what your passion is. Figure out what you like to do. Okay, I don't care if it's baking. I don't care if it's making shoes. You could be an illustrator, artist, whatever you want to do. Figure out what you're passionate at. Figure out what makes you creative. At that point, figure out how you then want to sell that product or service. I feel like so many people want to do business, but they don't understand the passion behind it. Some people aren't meant to have a business. Some people aren't meant to have an LLC, but they still want to find a way to make money, and they still want to find a way to have passive income. So I actually had someone hit me up 2 weeks ago. They're like, Jay, I'm having a hard time, making additional money. I'm behind on these bills. I'm behind on that bills. And I said, well, okay, how much you making yearly? They said, well, I'm making about 45,000. I said, okay. What do you like to do outside of your actual job? They did customer service. Well, I like to write. I'm a writer, and I write little stories and poems and things like that. And so I said, okay, well, if you like writing, why aren't you writing articles for companies? Why aren't you doing copywriting? See, we're not taking the things that we have a passion with and utilizing them to their full potential, right? There's sites that people can go on that they use for writers, right? And they'll pay you per page that you write or per word that you write, as long as you can write good enough. And you don't have to be specifically certified, right, as a professional writer. But if you're good enough at anything that people need, there's someone out there willing to pay you for that specific service. You just have to basically put your head down, focus, put the energy out there, put network and figure out where you need to go, and it'll happen. Nobody's going to come save you. But you do need that push and that motivation so you can go in the right direction to find the places that is going to help you go in a direction that you need to go. Ryan says, I've seen many people go bankrupt opening a business. That's because they don't understand how business works. Right? And we're not talking about the people who are given the handout, given the $1 million to go start the business, right? We're talking about the people who go to the bank, they make it a $5,000 loan. Hey, I'm going to start this company. And they have no idea as far as what they're doing, right? They go get a DBA. Let's say they're a landscaper, right? They have no idea as far as how to market the company. They're like, oh, I know I'm going to cut some grass and trim some hedges, and I know how to build a patio and do this all the kind of stuff that I can do. 6 months go by. They don't have any business. They're not getting any referrals. They're not getting any phone calls, no emails, no hits on their website because they don't understand marketing. They don't understand that foot traffic still works. They don't understand how to get out to the masses. They don't understand how to compete with competition. All this stuff is very important to know before you even start a business. You have to understand how to market yourself. before you even market your product. Once you learn how to market yourself, then learn how to market the product. Once you learn how to market the product, you have to learn who you need to market it to. Everything has steps and has order. It's the learning process that gets you to the next step. But a lot of people like to skip the steps because they want to take the shortcut because they just want to make the money. I just want to make the money. I just want to make the money. I don't want to have to do the hard work to get there. And that's the problem. Shout out to Richard says, great example of passion business. Be Kind t-shirts was started by parents of autistic child that want to find employment for real passion turn into success. And there's a lot of stories, right? Some people you'll be it's so interesting to find this, right? You'll have some people who will be backed into a corner and they'll come up with this amazing idea and they will get it patented and it becomes something, it goes viral. Those are far and in between, right? But what about all the ideas that people have, but they just don't have the right push, or they just don't have the motivation, or they just don't have the understanding so that they can get the product to the people that they need to because they don't understand business or they don't understand marketing. I've done marketing for a little over almost 20 years now, give or take. 20 years I've done marketing. I've worked with small mom and pop shops. I've worked with Fortune 500 companies. I've been in boardrooms with millionaires, close to billionaires. It's always the same thing. Everyone wants to figure out how to get the most return on their investment. That's it. Everyone thinks there's some kind of like conspiracy as far as like, how to sell a product or the psychology behind it. No, it's return on investment. That's it. You want to take your dollar and turn it into two. So how do you do it? How do you figure out what product that you have is going to appeal to whoever you're selling it to? Well, first you have to figure out, like I said, who you are and how you're able to sell. You might be a hands-on person. You might not be as talkative as me. You might be a hands-on person. You might craft something. You might be into machinery and tools. You might be able to create your own tools. But in the back of your mind, you're saying, well, I can't compete with craftsmen. I can't compete with who's those guys? The start with the T, Tracks and all those guys, right? You can compete at a lower scale, start local. A lot of people have this grand dream. I want my product to go across the world. I want to sell it to everybody, forgetting that you can start in your own backyard and grow it from there. And I use tools as an example because it's crafty, but there's so many different ways, so many different things that you can create that can help you make passive income. There's so many things that you can do. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I don't have the time, Jay. I don't have the time to do it. I work 40 hours a week. I've got kids. I've got other responsibilities. I don't have the time to figure out my passion. I think we do have more time than what we think we do. Number one, I think that the free time that we utilize and other stuff could probably go to what we actually want to do, what we want to be passionate about. I'll tell you what I used to do when I had a job or when I worked for someone. I had a 9 to 5. I was working for a company. I sold mobile offices and things like that. Absolutely hated it. Paid decent money. Bosses were terrible, but I kept my head down. I focused. I was always at the top of my game. I was number 5 in the company for 2 years in a row. I did decent. I did decent. When I got off work, none of that mattered. I then hopped on eBay and I wanted to create an e-commerce store that was going to help me make money while I was asleep. 2 to 3 hours a day. That's dealing with the kids. That's dealing with the woman. That's dealing with all the issues that I had to. I'd figure out, okay, I need to set aside this specific time. I need to do the dinner. I need to get the kids' homework done. I need to put them in bed. And then from 9 to 12, I'm working on eBay. You will have to be uncomfortable to get to the point that you want to be in. You're going to have some sleepless nights if you want to get to the point of being successful. That's the reality of it. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot of time. You're going to have to sacrifice some sleep if you want to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And I can say that because I've done it. Right now, I work 10 hours a week, not adding my content creation hours. I work 10 hours a week and I do very well. Shout out to Timo says nothing great comes easy. It takes time. It takes time. With that said, tomorrow I will be dropping the video as far as how much YouTube pays. I'm going to give you guys a full breakdown as far as how to start a YouTube channel, how to figure out your niche, how to be personable, how to do SEO, how much YouTube pays for 1 million views, and why you should. Timo says, I sacrificed 27 years being a Bengals fan. It could take a long time, Timo. It could take a long time. That is for sure. But yeah, tomorrow I will drop, like I said, or not tomorrow. I apologize. I will not be able to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. The 20th, which is Monday. Monday we'll be doing the YouTube video on how much money YouTube pays for 1 million views. Like I said, I'll also be breaking down how to start a YouTube channel, how to get it going, how to do your SEO, all that kind of stuff. People have requested that video. It's going to be a fun video. It's going to be a lot of information. And I'm glad to give it to you because I want to see everybody be successful. I want everybody around me to eat. Monday's your birthday, Timo? Shout out to you, man. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Timo. Richard said, is that 1 million views for one show or does it combine multiple shows? So the cost changes. We'll just get into it real quick. So the cost changes by niche, right? So if I'm talking about financial stuff, like this is a financial video, basically. This video is going to have more value than something, let's say, of entertainment, like sports, for instance. So we'll use as an example, 1 million views. It doesn't matter whether or not you do it on one video or if you do it on multiple videos in a month. I'm going to give you guys the breakdown of the 1 million views in a month, right? Because it's the same thing. If you have 1 million views in a month or if you have 1 million views in one video, it's probably going to be the same amount of money. So let's just use a financial YouTube channel as an example. So 1 million views on a financial video, whether it be in a day, a week, a month, will probably net you anywhere between 10 to 15,000 for 1 million views. Now, on the flip side, on like a sports channel or entertainment, something like that, 1 million views will only net you basically between 4 to 6 ish, 4 to 7. Right. So that'll help you understand as far as the spectrum, right? And then you've got different various topics. You've got insurance, you've got um travel, you've got food channels, there's different channels that make different amount of money. Now, the reason why finances and things like that is such a higher level is because the advertisers are willing to pay more money for those specific topics. So the people that have the financial channels and talk about financial topics, they're the ones that are making the most money on YouTube. apart from someone who may just have such a mass following and they're getting so many views, they can do less views and make more money because they're making more money per view from the advertisers. Taxes, that's another thing. So obviously with the taxes, um, with YouTube, depending on what you make, I mean, there's guys that make $300,000 a month off YouTube. There's some guys that make $100,000 a year off YouTube. Um, the general rule of thumb is basically setting aside whatever your bracket is, right? So if your bracket is 37%, set aside 37% of your income from YouTube. So that's basically just the sample size before we get into the actual video tomorrow for how much YouTube pays. But yeah, it's like I said, I'm gonna go really into detail. We'll look at the analytics specifically. I'll show you guys the views. I'll show you guys the like I said, the views, the amount paid, how they pay, and all that kind of stuff. And it'll be great. It'll be great. You guys will know. And hey, I hope that it inspires someone to go out there and actually put the work in and the effort to build a channel so they can start making money as well. So yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. Like I said, next video will be the YouTube video, and as far as how much you can make with 1 million views. Glad we got to get into this topic tonight, go over a couple of things. Obviously, I like the topic of finance and money. It's a great topic. It's something that everyone should know about, everyone should be educated about. So we'll obviously incorporate more of this content into this channel as well. We'll still keep the life stuff going. There's a couple of other topics that we're going to talk about next week as well with Franklin and Ivana. So, yeah, shout out to you guys for rocking with me tonight. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Have a good night.